Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of AAE board member and director of professional development, Neil Otto, it's my pleasure to welcome you to another webinar hosted by the American Association for Employment and Education. Today's topic is focused on the needs of educator candidates and is entitled 5 Things Most Teacher Candidates Do Wrong When Setting Up Their Digital Portfolio. My name is Tim Newbert and I am the Executive Director of AAE. Please allow me to cover just a few housekeeping matters before we begin with today's topic. During the webinar, all attendees will be muted by default. However, you are encouraged to submit your questions, comments, or responses throughout the presentation via the chat tool within Zoom, and our presenter will allow time to address them. When using chat, you are encouraged to change the recipient default to all presenters and attendees to maximize participation. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available to attendees and AAE members. Joining us today is Dr. Sam Fecich, a professor of education from Grove City College in Pennsylvania, author of EduMagic, a guide for pre-service teachers, and EduMagic Shine On, a guide for new teachers, and host of the EduMagic podcast. During this session, we will explore 5 common mistakes that are made on digital portfolios and how to fix them. We explore how to set up your digital portfolio, a plan to keep it updated, and organize it for a teaching interview. Thanks for being here today, Dr. Sam. I'll now turn it over to you.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I see we have a lot of returned guests from Tuesday, so great to see you here. If you are new, my name is Dr. Sam Fecich, and I am excited to meet you and have you come along our digital portfolio journey today. So just give me a sec to share my screen. Let's see here. I'm just going to share the whole screen because, why not? Let's just do that. So we have a link in our Zoom chat. I hope it went out to all attendees, not just presenters this time, for a link for any takeaways or questions or ideas that you might have. And it's over there in our Zoom chat. So you can head on over, click on that link. It's a Padlet. If you've never used a Padlet, let me show you around for a hot second here. You're going to go down to this little pink plus sign. It's going to turn into a pen and it says add post. You're going to click on that. You can either type in your name if you want to be brave, or you can just type in your question, your comment, your takeaway over here. So that's how you use Padlet, and that is that really quick. So let's jump right into our presentation for today. And Tim, can I get a thumbs up? You can see my screen good? Perfecto. Awesome. All right. So welcome. I hope you have a hot seasonal beverage with you today. I have my Earl Grey tea with me. And today we're going to be talking about 5 things most teacher candidates do wrong when setting up their digital portfolio. We have a little agenda of stuff we're going to talk about. So this is kind of what I have on our schedule. And I'll check back to the Padlet a little bit later during today's session to see what else is coming up on there, what else we can add to it. So we're going to talk about why we need a digital portfolio, because we need to go back to what Simon Sinek says. We got to start with the why. Why do we need to have this in the first place? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to set it up there's so many ed tech tools out there. How do we know what to decide? We're going to talk about the 5 Fecich must-have pages on your portfolio. And don't make these 5 mistakes when setting up your portfolio or putting things into your portfolio. It's kind of like a do this, not that type slide. I'm really excited about sharing that with you. We'll also be talking about the mindset of creating a portfolio, how to keep it updated and organized with simplicity in mind so you can use it during a teaching interview, because that's why we create our digital portfolio. It's a showcase for all of our awesome stuff that we are creating during our college career. So let's showcase that baby in a teaching interview. We're going to talk about some strategies to help you be successful in that, if it's a virtual interview or a traditional face-to-face interview. So let's get rocking and rolling. You can head on over to the Padlet, drop any ideas, strategies, questions you might have, whatever floats your boat over in that Padlet, and I'll visit that a little bit later. So Tim, thank you so much for that awesome intro. My name is Dr. Sam Fecich, and I get to teach future educators all about ed tech and special ed at Grove City College. It is a true honor to work with them and oversee a couple of our student teachers in their special ed placements. I'm the author of EduMagic, a guide for pre-service teachers, co-creator of the Future Teacher Digital Planner, and host of the EduMagic Future Teacher podcast. So if you're a future teacher and you like some EduMagic, that's kind of my jam here. So that's a little little bit about me. And truly working with that next generation of educators is a true gift that I get to do each and every day. So thank you, teacher candidates, for choosing the best profession on the planet, teaching. So yay! So let's start with, why do we need a digital portfolio? In my opinion, a digital portfolio does three things for us. First, it shows progress. So if you started to create a digital portfolio your freshman year, and say you create it for a class and you're just throwing in lesson plans and whatever your professor tells you to put in there. Hopefully, throughout your college career, you're updating it, you're revamping it, you're breathing some new life into it and making it your own. So by the time your student teaching, or when your student teaching placement is over, you can really see the progress that you've made as a future educator. And that's a lot of progress from freshman year to senior year. Oh my goodness, you're going to grow in your planning and your delivery and the way you communicate and connect with students and the way you build those relationships and the way that you're intentional with using educational technology, just to name a few. It also shows process. It shows the way you're thinking about education and a little bit about your teaching philosophy. It shows the way you're going to be using tools and strategies, methods, all those things you learn about in your clinical courses or your methods courses. Your digital portfolio shines a light on that through your lesson planning, through the pictures and videos that you're documenting to showcase your work. And it really does kind of have a nice little timeline view of the progress and the process of you becoming an amazing educator of excellence, in which you all are. And it's also a product, but it's a product that's never done. And let me expand on that a little bit more. So you might be thinking, oh, digital portfolio sounds so big and daunting. When in reality, it's really not that hard. It's one of my favorite tools to talk about because it's an amazing tool to have in your teaching toolbox, because you can always come back to it, because it's a product that never, ever ends. Just like your learning doesn't end when you cross that stage of graduation, friends. Oh, no, it does not. It is just beginning. And your digital portfolio is able to showcase all that awesome learning that you're doing. It's a showcase piece, and it also shows all the great stuff that you've learned and that you've applied and that you've done in your college career. So hopefully we work through some of that why of why you need a digital portfolio for three reasons. It's progress, process, and a product that's never done. So let's get into just a little bit of nuts and bolts here today. How do we even start to set one up? And I say this is probably the hardest part of creating your digital portfolio because, oh my gosh, guys, there's so many tools out there to get the job done. So I recommend trying out free website hosts like Wix, Weebly, or Google Sites. My personal favorite for my website, I have Wix. I've also used Weebly before. These are very easy drag and drop type platforms that you can set up your website on. And this is the hardest part, figuring out where you're going to host it. So choose something free that's easy to use, that fits your teaching personality, and maybe add in some really cool themes. Now, a couple of cautionary tales here. So with Wix, you can create your own free digital portfolio and publish it as a subdomain of Wix. So you don't have to pay for a domain. And please do not pay for a domain, as future teachers specialize in free. But with Wix, you can't change your theme once you publish it. With Weebly, you can change your theme. So if you're like, I'm not jiving with this theme anymore, that's okay. You can find something else that fits you and your teaching personality. And there's so many themes or templates out there that you can use. You can also jazz up or add some sprinkles to your digital portfolio with adding things like Canva graphics, and Canva headers. If you want to get fancy schmancy, you can totally rock that too. So once we have our website host and we decide, okay, I want Weebly, I want Wix, or I want Google Sites, you pick. Honestly, I would go in and I would set up an account on all three using a personal Gmail account, because you don't want to set it up with your school account because when you graduate, you might not have access to it anymore. So set it up with a personal account. You're going to want to add your pages and your sub pages. We're going to talk more about those pages later. So once we do some of the heavy lifting of deciding how are we going to organize it, how are we going to navigate it, then it's just a matter of putting in content. And that gets pretty easy as you start to gain experiences, teach some lessons, and do amazing things with kids, just like you do every day, right? So you get to add that stuff in there. When we talk about organizing with simplicity in mind, this is key. You don't want to get so much in your digital portfolio that you don't know where anything is. So keep it simple when it comes to organizing your content. I have 5 of my favorite pages to add in, and you can organize them in lots of different ways. You can have certain pages be sub pages, or you know how when you mouse over a page, it shows different pages underneath. That's what I mean by sub pages. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. And I think it's really important to maybe map out how you want your portfolio to look. Does it make sense when navigating to different spots on your portfolio, what someone's going to find on there? All right, so my 5 must-have pages. First, your welcome page. This page sets the stage. It's like that virtual handshake. This is what someone's going to see when they click on that link, your welcome page or your home page, your landing page, whatever you want to call that page. That is supposed to set the scene for what someone, a little bit about you and what someone's going to find in your digital portfolio. This page, it should have a little bit about who you are, a picture of you, like not glamour shots, not senior photos, just like a regular picture of you, maybe teaching and thinking. You can even have a slideshow on there too if you'd like, of multiple pictures, and then share with somebody what they're going to find on that digital portfolio. What are they going to find here? Well, you're probably going to find my resume. You're going to find teaching examples. You're going to find lesson plans. You're going to find information about my journey as a education major, whatever that might be. And you can describe some of the pages that they're going to find in there. So just welcoming them, setting the stage as a little introduction of who you are, like a little 30-second pitch, your name, your major, graduation, where you go to college, little blurb about why you want to be a teacher, and then a little bit about what they're going to find on these next few pages as they explore. Now, about me page, totally different from welcome, right? Kind of. So your about me page goes into more depth about who you are. I love this page to be fun and show the awesome, authentic teacher that you are. So this is something where you can go into more detail about why you want to be a teacher. Maybe you had an influential educator in your life. Share about that. You can pop on here a little bit about your teaching philosophy. If that's something you want to explore, you can do that. Have a slideshow of pictures of you doing your favorite things. So if you're involved in an organization or a club, if you've done volunteer work or tutoring, or if you're in athletics, put pictures of that. We're going to talk about permissions in a few moments here, but put pictures of that on there so you have a human element to this digital portfolio. It's not just professional Dr. Festich. It's, hey, look, I'm a person too, and these are some things I like to do. I make awesome chocolate truffles, and whatever fun things you like to do, put it on there, and that adds that human element. You can even add in there, if you're a secondary or a middle school teacher, why you chose that topic area to major in. So if you're a math teacher or a science teacher, why do you love science? Why do you love math? Why do you love English? Whatever it might be. Another really cool thing to add to your about me page could be an educational quote or one of your favorite quotes as to why you want to be a teacher. And you can also reflect upon that. And you can set up this page with some really nice layout templates on Weebly and Wix and Google Sites. They have all sorts of different ways to lay content out. Might want to have a picture with some text and maybe a slideshow and then more text. So thinking about breaking up so it's not just a big long line of text, breaking that text up with images to help support what you're discussing on that page. So welcome page, about me, resume. Now with your resume page, what I recommend students do is, you know how you have it up on Word, you save it as a PDF, and you put that into your application, all that stuff. That's great. Make a copy of that, but take out all of that identifying information like your address and your phone number, because there's creepers online and you don't want the creepers contacting you. So take that stuff out, but keep the content like your teaching experience, your volunteer experience, your education, your certifications, all that stuff. And you can put that on your resume, and you can embed that that into your digital portfolio. So don't just grab the little document icon and pop that onto your portfolio so someone has to click on it, download their computer, they have to upload it and look at it. Make sure you embed that right into your resume page because that's going to make you look more professional. And then nobody has to download their computer. And that's always a good thing. So make sure you take out identifying information on your resume and embed it into your digital portfolio as an embedded document, not as a file that somebody downloads, but as an embedded document. And we're going to talk a little bit later about how you can add some sprinkles to your resume to make it interactive. Contact page, that's next up. So with your contact page, you're going to want to have your professional email. Now, I recommend getting a professional Gmail account. They're free, so why not get one? And use like first name, last name, or first name, middle initial, last name. Don't use super cutie 123. That's already taken. Just kidding. so, so make sure you use a professional email because then one, you can access your, I don't even know what's in that chat comment. So you can access that digital portfolio later. And then someone has a professional contact for you over in your Gmail account. So you're going to have a professional email. If you don't have one, make one now. And then you also want to have, if you have professional social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I don't know if anyone has Facebook anymore, LinkedIn, those types of things, you can embed those feeds right into your contact page as well. So people can see all the awesome stuff that you're doing in the classroom because you're doing amazing things. So showcase it, showcase it, showcase it. And by embedding your feeds, not just having follow me at SFessage on Instagram, but actually embed your feed as HTML. You can do that by grabbing your embed code. There's YouTube videos on how to embed your Instagram profile into embed codes. It's very easy. That's the only thing I know how to do with coding. But by embedding them in there, they can see your most recent posts and they can go there and they can learn more about you as an educator. That can go for Instagram, for Twitter. And then you can also have, follow me at SFessage on Instagram or Twitter, whatever you would like to put there. But I very much encourage having those social media pieces embedded into your contact page as well, so they can see a little bit more about you. Now on Wix and Weebly, I'm not sure about Google Sites. It's possible. If somebody knows this, drop it in chat. There's templates for contact templates. So if you search on Weebly or Wix on the design pieces, there's a contact form. If you just drag it, drop it onto your portfolio, and it has for people to put in their own information, name, email, subject, and message. So if somebody wants to contact you, you can have that contact form right into your contact page. I'm saying a lot of contact for this sentence, but you can have that embedded right there so people can contact you right away about what they're seeing, what they like, maybe even for a job interview. You never know. I don't know if that's possible on Google Sites, but I know it is for Weebly and Wix. Now, before I go on to work samples, something you might want to think about when we talk about keeping navigation, organization simple. Sometimes students like to put resume and contact page maybe under about me as sub pages, and you can do that if you want to keep your navigation bar very simple. Other students have done welcome, about me with resume underneath, and then contact as another tab. Whatever works for you, you can easily take things out of sub pages and regular pages for your navigation bar. I would say no more than like six things across your navigation bar. When you start getting to that more button on navigation, that's when you're like, maybe I should think about some sub pages. So think about how you want to organize it and make sure it makes sense for you. Work samples. Now, this is where we have all that teacher stuff, right? We have our lesson plans, we have our ed tech, we have all of the amazing pictures of the materials that we created, painstakingly created and laminated all the things, right? What do we do with that? How do we organize it? I know it can get super overwhelming because just talking about it is a little overwhelming. So when we talk about work samples, here in Pennsylvania, we use the Danielson Framework for Teaching. You might want to think about organizing your work samples into big chunks like planning and prep, classroom environment, instruction, and professional development. Or you might want to organize it by field experiences or clinical experience, however your college, university defines that time where you're in a classroom with kids doing amazing things. So you might want to think about how you want to organize it. You can have teaching experiences and then have sub pages about all the different fields you've done. Or if you want to think more broadly about the topics, maybe you have awesome examples of a lesson plan linking to standards and objectives and how you use educational technology. So put that in there. You might want to think about classroom environment, think about behavior support, student interaction, student feedback. Connecting with your students. You have a great get to know you game or whatever that might be. That might fit well in classroom environment. Or how you organize the classroom to do an awesome group activity, or how you redecorated the classroom to get into Emerald City. I don't know. I may have done that as a student teacher. So think about some things that you've done in those big broad categories. Instruction, engaging students in learning. Did you do some really cool hands-on activity? Did you have them do a Jamboard activity where they wrote a brainstorm together as groups? And think about how that relates to the instruction and how you met your students' needs. Maybe you differentiated instruction for your students. And then professional development. This is a great piece, your professional development. We'll talk about this in just a little bit for a blog. And we're going to share a little bit more on that later. So stay tuned. So how are we doing so far, guys? We have our 5 must-have pages. We created our shell in Weebly, Wix, or Google Sites. And we're going to start with these 5 pages. Cool? Cool. All right. So I want to start before we get into do this, not that type stuff. It's never, ever too early to start your digital portfolio. If we have freshmen in the crowd, slow clap for you guys. This is awesome. I'm so glad you're here today. But it's never too early to start your digital portfolio. Start it now. Your future self will thank you. I promise you that, because you will do all that heavy lifting now and then just update it throughout your teaching career, throughout your college career. And think about it as a mindset shift. So in my course for Technologies of Instruction, my students create a digital portfolio for the class. And it's pretty much mapped out very similar to this, except we have the Danielson framework for teaching, and they put in their work samples based on those different areas. So when you have, if you have a digital portfolio that's being used for a course and you have to create it for a class anyway, don't go in the mindset of, ugh, I have to create this for a class. No, I get to create this and my class is letting me do this and I just have to update it. That's amazing. I wish I had that in college. Seriously, this is awesome. So you get to go in and you get to start creating your digital portfolio like now, and you get feedback. Come on, that's amazing. So don't think of it as one more thing or something to check off your to-do list or something you have to do for class. Think of it as you get to do this, and it's going to help you whenever you're going into that teaching interview. So one thing I want to share about it though, once you start creating it for class, don't just let it sit there and collect virtual dust, because that's not fun for anybody. And it won't be fun after you're done student teach, like, oh, I haven't touched this since like freshman year. What do I do? Make some time and plan it on your schedule. Maybe you're using the Future Teacher Digital Planner, but make some time to set up time in your schedule to go back and reflect. What are some things I've done this semester that I'm really proud of that I want to showcase in my digital portfolio? And add them in there. I would say block off 30 minutes, either a week or a month, depending on how often you want to update it. I would probably say 30 minutes a month. I mean, I don't know how much you're doing in a week for planning and things like that. But if you're in student teaching, maybe think about that. But if you're an underclassman, a freshman, sophomore, junior, think about setting aside 30 minutes a month and think about, reflect on that month. Did you do a presentation? Did you write a paper? Did you do a unit plan or a block plan or something like that? And add it to your digital portfolio. You can take it out later, but it's going to be a great reflection piece. Remember, digital portfolios show progress, process, and products. So you're going to be able to use that information to reflect on and show. Maybe you want to use that lesson plan you wrote your freshman year, and then contrast that to a lesson plan you wrote your junior year, and you can see how much better you've gotten with aligning standards, aligning those objectives, checks for understanding, and reflecting on your lesson plan. So just saying, you got to set time up to do it, and don't let it collect dust. This is one of my favorite slides, and I've been like reorganizing this since like 9 o'clock this morning. So I am so excited for this slide. I've been trying to like think of fun things, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we talked about the resume page. So we have on the left-hand side, don't do this. do what's on the right-hand side of the page. So your resume page, when you have that in your digital portfolio, again, do not just grab the document icon and click it there for someone to download your resume. You also do not want to have personal info on your digital portfolio resume. On the resume you send out to schools and applications, yes, please totally do that. Rock that personal info. But for your one on your website, take out your address, take out your phone number, put your professional email. You might even want to put your social media handles on there with little links in there. So with your resume page, I know sometimes our teacher resumes can get a little long, right? Maybe like 2 pages. So when you're starting to feel like, oh my gosh, this is getting so long, my resume is getting to be like a mini novel, think about adding in links to your digital portfolio. So on your resume page, you might want to maybe have a volunteer experience section on your resume. And it says, I volunteered at the library 2 times a week. On your digital portfolio, you can have a hidden page. So it's not available in navigation. Only you know about it and whoever clicks on that link. Where you share more about what you've done as a volunteer and how your experience has helped you. And you can just link that page right on your resume. Now, on your resume, you can say, I was a volunteer for the library for 2 times a week where I read stories to kindergarten kids or whatever it might be. And then click here for more info. And they click there and they can go find that extra page. Maybe it has images and a little slideshow or a video of you reading to kids with an awesome little sock puppet. I don't know. So you can have some really cool stuff in your resume, making it interactive and also making it a really dynamic piece for people to go check out and see all the cool stuff that you've been doing. And Weebly and Wix, you can make your pages hidden by clicking on there's a little eyeball icon that says hide page. Yep, just click on that and your page is hidden. No one will see it but you, and you can have it on there for a link for someone to click on to go find more. So what I mean by hidden, it won't show up in your navigation bar. All right, too much information. So for some of us, we just want to put all the stuff on our digital portfolio with very detailed and robust information about what we did and how great it was, and it was amazing. So I encourage you to think about be picky with what you're putting on your digital portfolio. Remember how I said update every couple of months? Please do that because then that allows you to be picky with the stuff that you have on your portfolio. One of my former students, Jordan Pastilli, what she did on her welcome page, she had a section on there that said amazing lessons or highlighted lessons, something like that, where she had little buttons that went to hidden pages on her portfolio where people were able to go in, see a lesson that she wrote and planned, delivered, reflected upon. So she had her lesson and she had the information about how the lesson went, her reflection, what the objectives were, all those things, any images or videos that went alongside it. So she was very picky about what she selected to be. She only had 3 lessons in that highlighted lessons portion. So she was able to get the information out there, but not overwhelm the reader on their portfolio. So remember how I said we kind of want to stay away from that more section on the navigation. If we're getting there, getting a little uncomfortable with the navigation, a little too much. So think about shortening that list and being picky with what you have. Don't feel like you have to put in every single lesson plan that you write. Put in the ones that you are really proud of. And this kind of goes back to learning is not about the A, it's about what you get out of that assignment. And an A might not reflect that, you know? So think about whenever you're writing those lesson plans, those unit plans, whatever you're creating for kids, do it with a purpose, do it with meaning behind it. Don't just do it for the A and don't just do it for that one professor to look at. Do it because you want to impact students, you want to get better at this process and really like jump in with 2 feet, writing these lesson plans, creating these materials, because then you can showcase it in your portfolio and you might be able to use it for your teaching interview. Now, if you want to amp it up a little bit, and if you're working in a class where you're writing example lesson plans, but they're not really going out to students or anything, or to teachers, you might want to reach out to your teacher friends on social media, especially if you have, say you want to teach 3rd grade and you're like, you know what, I actually want to write a real lesson for 3rd grade. Maybe I'll connect with a teacher who's in 3rd grade and teaching a subject I might want to teach one day and ask her, hey, what what can I write a lesson plan about? I'd love to hear your ideas, your reflection, your feedback, and write a lesson with that teacher in mind and send that to him or her and see how it goes, because it's giving an authentic audience to your work. And you're not just handing it in for the grade. You're not just handing it in for that one professor. You're handing it in to be used with kids. So I encourage you, go all in with your assignments. Don't put all the things in your digital portfolio. Be picky. Another thing I want to share is the whole show, don't tell type thing. So if you can show it in a picture, in a video, in a graphic, in a PDF, do it. So for example, if you have a lesson plan that you rocked and you want to showcase that in your digital portfolio, actually embed that lesson plan into your digital portfolio. Don't grab the file and the link for people to download it, but actually embed it in there. And if you have materials that go alongside it, instead of describing the materials in a description, you can go in and you can add in pictures, what you created, what students created, pictures of student work at the end of that lesson plan, and put them into your digital portfolio. I think that really does show, instead of telling about it. But we don't want to discount, giving someone background information about what they're looking at. So you just don't want to throw a lesson plan with some random pictures in there and say, done. You want to go in, you want to give it a nice title, give a brief description. I'd say maybe a paragraph at max 2, and then put in your lesson plan, put in any materials or resources, links. If you have a Nearpod or a Pear Deck or a Canva that you created to go alongside it, put those in there. And I think that'd be really an amazing artifact for somebody to see with that background information. All right. So next thing we want to talk about is pictures of kids. I know we take a lot of pictures every day, right? We got to make sure that the pictures that we're taking of children, we have the proper permissions. So you don't just want to take a picture of a student and pop it in your portfolio, be like, this is a great picture. I look like an awesome teacher. These are my students. They're listening to every word I say. This is great. No, you got to double check those permissions. So on day 1 of student teaching or field or clinical, whatever you call that time with kids, check in with the teacher, ask him or her or them which students are allowed to be photographed. Usually schools have photograph permissions. And then I would even go a step further with the permission of your cooperating teacher and your college supervisor to craft your own photo permission form and say, I am a student teacher from whatever college you're from, and I will be working with your child in 4th grade from this date to this date. I will be documenting my learning throughout my time here through lesson planning and professional development, and I would love to include photos in my digital portfolio to showcase my teaching. May I please use a photo of your child on my digital portfolio, and then double check with your co-op and your college supervisor to make sure that's okay, just so you have that extra support, to have that child's photo taken. To even go a step further than that, there's lots of software out there or tools that you can use to blur out faces. You can also use like those little emojis over faces as well. But I'm a really big fan of getting a picture of kids doing things. So like from like over the shoulder type shot of a kid like moving manipulatives and all you see is their hands, something like that. So think about getting creative with photos and get those permissions. Another kind of along the same lines with permissions would be copyright free images. Don't just go to Google and Google images of teachers and put that in your portfolio, because you might not have permission to do so. Within Google, yes, you can set those images to be labeled for reuse or labeled for reuse without commercial or something, but go to tools like Canva, Pexels, Pixabay, Unsplash, and there's another one, Tim, that somebody told us about on Tuesday. Forget what it is. Maybe I'll look it up at the end here. But use pictures that are copyright free. And with those tools like Unsplash, Pexels, Pixabay, maybe I named another one. If you have more, drop them in the chat. You're making sure that you're being a good digital citizen and that you're pulling content that you can use across the internet. And you also don't want to have like that ugly watermark across a picture, because nobody likes that. So double check your permissions when you're using pictures, whether they're your own photos that you've taken or pictures of from the internet. Another thing, if you're in a field, a clinical, a student teaching, ask your cooperating teacher, your mentor teacher, to take a picture of you teaching, just you. I'm sure they would be happy to. And then that's a great picture for you to add to your welcome page or to your about me page of just you teaching. I think that'd be really fun. And then you can ask like every week or so, get a new picture, update it, share about what you're doing in this photo, and you can put that on your social media, sharing what you're teaching, what you're learning, and how you're growing that week during student teaching or clinical practice. All right, let's talk about broken links. Once you have your portfolio created, you have your content in there, it looking fabulous. Double check to make sure there's no broken links, because the worst thing you could do is have a link and it's like, sorry, that page isn't there anymore, or oh, you need permission to view it. So if you're using anything on Google, double check those share setting permissions anyone with the link can view, and then double check your links. So what I like to recommend is grabbing your portfolio link. Maybe it's sfestage.weebly.com or sfestage.wix.com, whatever yours is, and put it in a browser that you don't usually use, like Mozilla or Edge or Chrome, whichever browser you're not usually logged into. Find it, put your link in there, and go through every single page, because it's going to show you, can you see that lesson plan that you embedded in there, or is it like you have to request permission? Does this link work, or did you put like a link to Nearpod but accidentally forget to put like the link to the whole lesson? It just goes to Nearpod and you have to sign in. So think about viewing your digital portfolio from another perspective, from a different browser, or incognito mode. So it's also really fun to say incognito. So double check those links, embed that content when you can, embed videos, embed pictures, embed lessons and documents, because that just makes it a more rich experience for the viewer to look at your portfolio and to keep going through it. All right, let's talk about keeping it updated. And we kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier. So I think it's really important as you're going throughout your college career, throughout your courses, maybe have a little spreadsheet or a Google Doc or a Word doc, whatever floats your boat, with titles of your ed classes. So EDUC 204, SEDU 101, awesome teacher class here, whatever you have. And then go in there, and after you've taken that course, or maybe while you're taking the course, bullet point some things that you did that you might want to showcase in your portfolio. So maybe you did a team teaching presentation. Maybe you created a Flipgrid activity for students. Maybe you did a literature book review. And related to standards and did a really cool activity. Maybe you made something, whatever it might be. Make little bullet points about that content that you created, and think about how it relates to your digital portfolio. Where would I want to put this? Does this relate to lesson planning? Does it relate to engaging students in instruction? Does it relate to maybe social emotional? And I want to put that in my classroom environment page. So thinking about big picture stuff. And how it relates to your digital portfolio. So just keep a little list. You might want to include on that list a link if you have, like if it's a Flipgrid or if it's a lesson on Pear Deck or Nearpod or an infographic you created on Canva, grab the link, put it in there so you don't forget where it is, and just give a quick description about what it is, why you think it should be included in your portfolio, and where's a good spot for it. Because at the end of the semester, you might not remember like all the cool stuff that you've done and why you should be showcasing it. Because even if you're a freshman or a sophomore, and you're adding to your portfolio, this is still something you can be sharing out for summer camp jobs, for VBS, for tutoring, for babysitting. These are all things that you can still keep going. So don't think about it as something to wait for during your student teacher or senior year. This is something you can keep going and keep growing with. Remember, it's process, product, and process here. All right, so we talked about creating a little document, a little list of things you might want to add to your portfolio. And then after each semester, during those breaks, you can add to your portfolio. And I recommend looking across that stuff and thinking, okay, what's 3 to 5 things I am really proud of that I created this semester, and put them in your portfolio. Remember, having embedded content when you can, images, links, lesson plans, videos, and then also having a description about what it is, because you just don't want to throw something in there and be like, hey, see you later, did that. Provide some context as to what somebody's looking at and why it's important, maybe even how it fits in the classroom environment, or how it fits into planning or lesson planning or standards or whatever it might be. It's also a really great way for you to reflect upon the semester and how great and all the great stuff that you've done, and use it as a way to reflect on what have you done and where do you want to go next semester. What are some areas in which you want to grow? So I encourage you to use this time to map out some glows and map out some grows and find some places to help you grow, possibly in professional development areas. So think about, do you need more professional development and differentiated instruction, or using educational technology or social emotional learning? And then find resources out there online, webinars, podcasts, TED Talks, blogs that are going to help grow you in those areas. So always reflect on that semester to see where you've been and where you're going. And now is a really good time to do it while we're in break, right? All right, professional development. I love professional development. And there's lots of different ways you can receive professional development as a college student, as a future teacher. Sometimes, if you're student teaching, sometimes there's professional development embedded within your placement. So you might have something from the school district in which you're working in, and you have a PD day. That's great. For some of us, or maybe a practicum, that's also a good one for professional development. Others, you might be in education organizations or clubs or groups like Kappa Delta Pi or Educators Rising or Council for Exceptional Children. I can't think of any others right now, but there are lots of educational organizations out there, Teachers of Tomorrow. And you might want to think about starting a blog that discusses the cool things that you're learning about. Why do you want to do a blog? Because by having a blog page, and these are very easy to set up on your digital portfolio, instead of choosing regular standard page, you choose blog page. You can have a little bit about you can have your picture, and then as you're updating it, the most recent professional development pieces come up first, right? So this is a great way for you to start documenting all the cool stuff you're learning about outside of the classroom. Because learning happens in and out of the classroom, friends. It happens on Twitter, it happens on webinars and podcasts. You can even, if you don't have any, if you're not involved in an ed organization, or if there's no guest speakers coming in or anything like that, go out and get your own professional development. Be driven and do that, because I'm telling you, it's going to be fantastic. So join a Twitter chat, maybe join a Facebook group, watch a webinar like from AAEE, and see what you're learning and reflect upon that. Drop those takeaways and ideas in there. And then if you can, add a picture or add a link. And if you're attending like a live webinar like this, take a picture and put it up on there, because that just is a great way to document your learning, reflect upon what you've learned. How is it going to help you in the classroom? And it shows employers that you're just going to keep learning and growing even as a first year teacher. Remember, learning doesn't stop when you cross the stage of graduation. It's just beginning. So keep that learning going. And this is something you can keep going and keep growing throughout your college career. So just like I said with our professional development blog, we want to make sure that as we update our digital portfolio, maybe we did a blog post, maybe we updated an artifact, or maybe we created an awesome lesson plan, or whatever it might be. Add it to your professional social media account. And if you don't have a professional social media account, I would say hit me up in DMs, but I'm not sure if you have that. So email me. I will drop my email address in the chat, or maybe Tim can do that. And we're going to talk about getting you connected on social media as a professional educator, because you are one, so you need connected. Anywho, so as you're updating your stuff, put it out there on social media. My good friend Stephanie Plaza just created a blog, and she's posting out there on social media about what she's doing, what she's learning about. She's right now doing stuff on literature. So that's a really cool way. I'm excited to read more about it. So going in and seeing what other student teachers, fellow educators are doing is a great way to get started. And you can pop that link to your digital portfolio. Please do not worry if it's not all complete yet, because remember, it's a product that's never done. It's never done, friends. So pop that link to your digital portfolio in your Twitter bio, in your LinkedIn bio, in your Instagram bio, so people can go and learn more about you. So you can do like a picture of professional development that you attended, write a little bit about it on Instagram, put link in bio, and people will go right there and they'll be able to see all the cool stuff that you're doing. This is fantastic for employers to keep up to date with you and see all the cool stuff that you're doing in and out of the classroom, because you're investing in yourself as an educator of excellence. All right, so let's talk about, let me check the time. Oh, good, we're doing great. let's talk about organizing it for an interview, because sometimes when we think about our digital portfolio, we might be thinking about that long-term goal, teaching interview. And that's great to have it as a goal. But remember, we can still be using this throughout our college career. So don't forget that. So one thing you might want to have, we talked about Jordan Facility's example of awesome lessons on your homepage or on your welcome page with buttons, organizing that content. You can have something like that, or have those hidden pages that link in your interactive resume. Another really cool thing to do is on your traditional PDF resume that you're handing out to districts, maybe at an awesome AAEE job fair, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, there's one coming up. Or maybe you're setting out your application, you have to upload a PDF, pop a QR code on the top right-hand side of that PDF. It's very easy to do with your digital portfolio link. So now you're driving someone right to where you want them to go. So we know employers are going to Google us, right? We want that positive professional presence to shine through. And by having a QR code right on our resume, really can make a difference. So they can go zap that QR code, go right to your digital portfolio, and peruse all the cool stuff that you've been doing. I've had several teacher candidates do this, and they're like, you know what, Dr. Festich, one principal found me on my Twitter page because I was updating stuff, and he found my digital portfolio, and he called me in for a first round interview because they found me online. And that is so cool. So giving someone directing someone directly to where you want them to go using that QR code. And then also putting that in your social media, like we talked about before, your link in your bio. Teaching philosophy. So we know that like teaching philosophy sounds really hard to write, right? I mean, it's not that hard once we think about it, but sometimes it can get a little wordy. So I encourage you to create your teaching philosophy, but have the write up, but also have a video to go alongside it that shows your teaching philosophy. Remember, for our digital portfolio, we want to show and not tell. So you can have your teaching philosophy on your webpage, whatever it might be, but also include a video. And in the captions, highlight different parts of your teaching philosophy, and the pictures will have it come to life. So are you all about student-centered learning? Are you about differentiated instruction, adapting for students' needs, connecting with your students, networking with colleagues? Get pictures of you doing all those amazing things with permissions and put it into a video. Very easy to make. Adobe Spark. You can do it for free in Adobe Spark. Sign up for the educator account. And then also Animoto has an educator account too. Both of these tools, very easy to use. The hardest part is picking what pictures you're gonna use, right? So all you do is drag your pictures in there. You pick a theme. You can work with the music because they have all copyright free music. And then you can embed that video right into your digital portfolio, making your philosophy come to life and really shine through on those portfolio pages. All right, so now let's talk about it's interview time. You're ready to go. Fast forward a couple of years or maybe a couple months for some of you. So whenever you're using your digital portfolio during an interview, make sure that you have it up on a screen, ready to go. You have your tabs up, ready to rock and roll. What are some tabs you want to make sure you show? Maybe you want to show professional development page, your planning page, your resume. Maybe have stuff like that up in separate tabs. So if you share your screen, you can just zip right to those tabs. Or you're going to also want to have a link right to your homepage. So have that ready to go, maybe copy, paste it on a digital sticky note and have that ready to pop in the chat when people come in, right? So whenever you're asked questions in your digital portfolio, be like, I would love to share an example with you. If you go to my portfolio page and you can send it right to them via chat, let me tell you about an activity I did to help support students and their social emotional learning using Pear Deck. So this shows classroom environment and it shows educational technology. If they ask you what's the last professional development event you attended, self-selected or school district, you can go in and be like, oh, here on my professional development blog, you can see I attended this awesome AAE webinar. And you can talk about what you learned about there and how it helped you as an educator. So remember, use your digital portfolio to share and show examples of stuff that you've done during your college career. And it truly will be an amazing experience because you have built this up and you've continued to update it and you've thought about the navigation, you thought about what goes into it, and you're really being a thoughtful educator about what goes into your portfolio to showcase your edu awesomeness during that teaching interview. All right, so I'm going to use these last 10 minutes to answer questions, comments, concerns, or compliments. Drop them in the Q&A, drop them in the chat, and I'd be happy to open it up to questions here.
All right, and while we're waiting on that, I think you'd made a request to me, Sam, to drop something into your contact. If you wanted to message you.
Yes, please.
What
Yes,
did you want me?
please.
Well, what did you want me to share with them?
Just my email works.
All right.
Yeah.
I can do that. And I do see somebody asked if we can drop the presentation link in the chat. So I don't. This session is being recorded, everybody, and will be emailed out to you tomorrow. So you can be looking for that. But looks like maybe you've got something you can.
Yeah. So if you want it like right now, it'll be sent to you like within
All
like
right.
5 minutes here. Yeah. Thank you, Nikayla. That's a great question. Yeah, and if you guys aren't connected on social media, you want to look at getting a professional learning network through Instagram, through Twitter, just drop me an email and I'm happy to send you some information. Yay, I'm so glad, Demetra. Thank you so much. Yeah, eduasin, this is kind of like the little word I use.
I love it.
And I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And do we have any questions, comments? Anyone excited to get their digital portfolio started? I know I am. Oh, Lisa, yeah, thank you for that information about Flickr copyright information. Thank you.
So we'll see if any questions come in, but just thank you so much, Dr. Sam. You've delivered yet another great high energy session to our audience.
Awesome.
Always a pleasure. Also want to thank everybody, all the attendees for joining us today. If you have not already done so, and Dr. Sam mentioned it, I hope you'll consider registration for our virtual career fair for teachers on March 11th. You can find more information on our website under the events tab on aaee.org. By the way, Dr. Sam presented a webinar in 2020 entitled How to Rock Your Teaching Interview Remote Style.
Yes.
So you can check that out, and I'll drop that link into the chat.
And that was a really fun one too.
Yeah, another great session by Dr. Sam. Yeah, I didn't see any of the questions coming through, so thanks again, Dr. Sam. Thanks again, everybody, and please enjoy the rest of your day.
My pleasure. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.